This is Thorne, and today we're talking about why you keep earning more, but somehow feel less. This video includes subtitles so you can follow more intentionally, and take in the words at your own pace. You keep moving forward. Your income increases, your skills improve. On paper, everything is working. You're not failing, you're not falling apart, and yet, deep down, you feel less, not broken, just empty. Like every achievement is followed by a silence that gets louder, like no amount of success actually fills the part of you that's been waiting for something else entirely. You thought once you got here, this point of progress, stability, competence, you'd finally feel real, grounded, enough. But instead you feel detached. Accomplished, yes, but disconnected. From others, from yourself. And that feeling? It's not random. It's what happens when performance becomes your identity, when doing replaces being, and when your entire sense of worth is built around proving that you're not falling behind, even if it means you're not really present. You learned early that being useful meant being safe, that the more valuable you were to others, the less likely they were to leave. So you got good at showing up, delivering, staying ahead. Not because you were ambitious, but because you were afraid. Afraid of what people might see if you ever slowed down. Afraid of what it would mean if you stopped performing long enough to just exist. So you didn't. You kept going. Even when it hurt. Even when it made you feel invisible. Because for a while, productivity gave you something close to peace. It quieted the self-doubt. It numbed the discomfort. And it gave you a reason to feel like you belonged in the room. But here's the part no one tells you. The longer you live in that mode of constant output, constant proving, the harder it is to feel anything real. You become efficient, but emotionally flat, presentable, but unreachable. You meet every deadline but miss every moment, and eventually success stops feeling like a win. It starts feeling like survival. At some point, the praise stops feeling good, not because you're ungrateful, but because it feels like they're applauding a version of you that's no longer there, a version that's still trying, still smiling, still pretending this pace is sustainable. But you know it isn't. You know that underneath the results, there's a part of you that's exhausted. Quietly, deeply exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, existentially tired. And the worst part is, you don't know how to stop. Because stopping doesn't feel like rest. It feels like failure. Like if you're not progressing, you're disappearing. And when your sense of identity is tied to your output, stillness becomes terrifying. That's when you start to notice the emptiness more. The way you feel disconnected from the things you used to love, the people you care about, even from yourself. Not because you don't want connection, but because you've built a life that only rewards momentum, and momentum doesn't make space for presence. You start to confuse growth with escape. Every new project becomes a distraction. Every goal, a way to avoid asking the harder question, what happens if I stop chasing? Not in a dramatic, give up on life way, but in a quiet, honest way. The kind of pause that would force you to actually sit with yourself, to feel what's underneath the movement, and that's the part that scares you. Because when the noise dies down, when the inbox is empty, when the praise fades, you're left with a version of yourself you've spent years avoiding, the one that feels unsure, unworthy, unfinished. So you keep running, not toward joy, but away from stillness. And the longer you run, the more success feels like a performance, a way to hold everything together on the outside, while inside, you're quietly unraveling. Not visibly, not dramatically, just slowly losing the sense that any of this is connected to who you really are. You've built a life that looks stable, respectable, even admirable. But underneath it, there's a constant tension, a sense that you're always one step away from being exposed, not as a fraud, but as someone who's deeply tired of having to earn your place. Because that's what it's always felt like, hasn't it? Like you don't just get to be here, you have to justify it. With effort, with competence, with results. And over time, that mindset turns your whole life into a silent performance. You show up, smile, deliver, but it's hollow, because none of it feels rooted in who you are. It's all built on who you think you need to be. And that gap, the one between your true self and your performing self, gets wider with every promotion, every compliment, every "you're doing great." Until one day, the idea of slowing down doesn't feel relaxing. It feels like you'd lose everything that's been holding you together, even if what's holding you together is also what's keeping you numb. And here's the part no one prepares you for. Success doesn't always feel good when you never felt safe to begin with. If you've spent most of your life on edge, bracing for rejection, anticipating judgment, then even the good moments feel suspicious. You don't celebrate. You scan for threats. You analyze tone. You second-guess compliments. Because safety was never about being successful. It was about not being a burden, about staying useful enough, impressive enough, strong enough, so no one would have a reason to leave. That's why rest feels unsafe. Why slowing down triggers guilt. Because rest implies you're no longer performing. And when performance is what makes you feel valuable, rest feels like becoming invisible. Like you're slowly erasing your place in the world, so you keep pushing. Not because you want more, but because you don't know who you are without the pressure, without the next goal, without something to prove. And it's not that you don't want to feel proud. You do. You want to believe the effort means something, that the progress is real, that you're allowed to feel good about how far you've come. But pride requires presence, and presence is hard when your nervous system is still wired for survival. When every calm moment feels like the beginning of a letdown, when the quiet makes you question everything you built. That's why you keep moving, because stillness doesn't feel like peace, it feels like exposure, and you're tired of being seen only when you're useful. So you bury yourself in function. You speak in updates, not emotions. You perform connection instead of experiencing it, and people say, "You're doing so well." But inside, you're wondering if this is what well is supposed to feel like, because it doesn't feel full, it feels muted, measured, like you've traded joy for competence, and you're not sure you can get it back. But here's what most people don't understand. This isn't about laziness. It's not about entitlement or being ungrateful. It's about survival, about growing up with the unspoken rule that your worth had to be earned, that being loved meant being needed, that slowing down meant falling behind, and falling behind meant being forgotten. So now, even when things are good, you can't fully enjoy them, because some part of you is always scanning for the next problem, the next way you'll be disqualified. You think, if I stop trying, will they stop caring? If I stop performing, will I still belong? And those questions don't go away just because your income goes up or your skills improve. In fact, they get louder, because now there's even more to lose. You've built a version of yourself that everyone respects, except the version that's quietly waiting to feel safe inside it. Eventually, even your wins feel heavy, not because they weren't real, but because they came from a place of fear, not freedom. You start to wonder what it would feel like to succeed without tension, to rest without guilt, to stop chasing long enough to ask, what do I actually want, outside of what proves I'm enough? But that question is hard to face when your whole identity is built on being needed, on never disappointing, on keeping everything polished and under control. So instead, you optimize, you plan, you stay busy. Because being busy is easier than being vulnerable, easier than admitting that you don't feel proud of what you've built, only relieved that you haven't fallen apart yet. But there's a quiet truth beneath all of this, one you've known for a long time, but never had the space to say out loud. You don't want to just look successful, you want to feel real. Feeling real doesn't come from performance. It doesn't come from what others admire in you. It comes from the moments when you stop running, stop proving, and just let yourself exist, imperfect, uncertain, and still worthy. That kind of presence can't be earned. It has to be allowed. And the hardest part? You're the only one who can give yourself that permission. No title will do it, no paycheck, no praise. It starts when you stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start asking, "What if I already was?" It's not a dramatic change. It's quiet. It's choosing to rest without explaining. It's letting yourself be seen without fixing anything first. It's saying no without guilt, and yes without apology. It's choosing honesty over image, wholeness over hustle. And if any part of you is ready to feel something real again, start there, not by doing more, but by finally letting yourself be.